The year was 1970, maybe it was 1971. I don't exactly remember, but I was a junior or senior in high school, and I attended the largest high school in our state at the time, about 5,000 students, and coincidentally, our school happened to be a majority black high school, so consequently, I had a few friends who were black. Well, I had a few friends, period, but, some of those friends that I did have happened to be black. Okay. One of those friends was a girl. I don't know how to make friends. I really don't know how to get close to people. I never did understand all of that. But anyhow, the two of us were walking into the school cafeteria, probably well over 1,000 teenagers in the cafeteria. And for some reason, she grabbed my hand. And so we walked into the cafeteria hand in hand. And that bothered me immensely because, well, having Asperger syndrome, I really don't like to be touched. Now, there are exceptions. I mean, if I really care about somebody, that's different. But this was just a friend. Was I giving her the wrong signals? I mean, what was going on here? So, anywho, I just shook loose of her. I mean, I literally shook my hand and broke free, and we continued walking. And after that, she never spoke to me. I don't know why. Well, maybe she thought we had something going on, Then again, maybe she thought I was being a racist, that I didn't want to be seen in public with holding hands with a black girl. I don't know. She never said anything. That was the last I heard of it. Now, the reason I say that is because one of the problems that people with Asperger syndrome have, or really anybody who is withdrawn or shy, and incidentally, not all people with Asperger syndrome are withdrawn and shy. That's beside the point. But they misunderstand. They don't realize that what we're doing is not rejecting them. We are just being ourselves. Now, the reason that I bring that up is what we're talking about is some of the things that Asperger syndrome is not. And one of the things that Asperger syndrome is not, it's not rejection of you. The fact that a person with Asperger syndrome, high-functioning autism, or any kind of autism doesn't connect well with you isn't because necessarily that they reject you, but it's because we just don't have that part of our brain that does that. It's called mind blindness. It's well known to scientists. We just don't get it how to connect to people the way that other people do. So in that sense, as we said in yesterday's video, we are not eccentric, we are concentric. That is to say that while everyone else seems to be a circle that matches every other circle, we are a circle unto ourselves. We just don't match the other circles, and people don't get that. They just think, okay, you reject me, you don't like me, so I'm just going to dislike you back. And that causes a lot of problems throughout our lives. Okay, once again, number one, rejection. Things that people misunderstand about autism. Number two is something that's kind of similar to that, but just kind of the flip side of the same coin, and that is selfishness. Some people think that autism, they don't even know it's autism, but what they see is autism, but they think that it is some kind of a cover for seeking attention. So maybe we say that, okay, I'm autistic. Oh yeah? You just want attention. Do people actually say that? Personally, I've never heard anyone say that to me, but then again, a lot of people don't know I'm autistic, don't know I have Asperger syndrome. It's not something that I talk about, that I announce. Unless you watch my videos, you probably don't even know it. But if you do mention it, a lot of people will say, you're just a jerk, you're just selfish, and you're just saying you're autistic because you're just using that as a camouflage. You're using that as a mask to cover up your selfishness. And what appears to be selfishness probably isn't. I got to say, by the way, people with Asperger syndrome can be selfish. There's nothing stopping us from doing that. I mean, it's not that we can't be selfish because we're autistic, or that we can't reject people because we're autistic. We can do those things. But the point is that rejection and selfishness are often misunderstood, or I should say that autism, high-functioning autism, Asperger syndrome, is often confused as being rejection of other people or selfishness, even narcissism, self-centeredness. Number three is this. Sometimes people think, and this is kind of weird, I don't know where this comes from, but people think that autism, Asperger syndrome is communicable. In other words, you can catch it like a disease. Sit next to the bus on somebody with autism. Okay, maybe you're in an airplane. I don't know where you are. But you're next to somebody with autism. Oh, I might catch it. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay, that's kind of silly, right? Everyone understands that. But there are variations of that people do accept. For example, there's this thing that you can get, you can catch autism from a vaccine. No scientific evidence whatsoever. Every case of autism that I've ever heard of is congenital. I mean, you're born that way. You're literally that way before you came out of the womb. This is the way that your brain is configured. It's the way you're neurologically hardwired. Can't catch it. I was listening to a guy on a YouTube video, and he was talking about vitamin D3, which I have an interest in because of inflammation. You know, I'm that age. So I'm watching this video, and he's explaining how vitamin D3, he didn't say cures autism, but helps alleviate the symptoms. How is that possible? You know, these people come up with these ideas that autism is if not a disease, it's like a disease, and that it can be treated like a disease. Take vitamin 3 and your autism will go away. I don't want it to go away. I like being who I am. I accept myself. That's part of my identity. I am a person with Asperger syndrome, and I like me being just fine, like myself being the way I am. But I still take vitamin D3 because I have a problem with inflammation, because I'm using it as a treatment for autism, because I know it wouldn't work, and I don't want it to work even if it did work. So the point is, autism, you can't catch it. I mean, you can't catch it from other people like a bug. It's not a pathogen. You can't catch it from a vaccine. You can't catch it or treat it with vitamins. It's a neurological condition. Number 4 is this. Some people think that autism is very apparent. Now, we've talked about this in other videos. It's kind of like you see people who have a particular syndrome, like Down syndrome, and you can just look at them and you can see, yeah, I can tell that person has Down syndrome or Williams syndrome. They have facial expressions that they make, typically, not always, but you can tell just by the way they look. How does autism look? How does Asperger syndrome look? Well, look at me. I look like I have Asperger syndrome. Do you have Asperger syndrome? Are you autistic? Go look in a mirror. That's what it looks like. In other words, it looks like, well, you can't tell by looking. That's what I'm saying. There's nothing visible about our facial expressions that tells anyone that we are autistic. Now, we do have physical traits, some of us. Not all of us, but some of us. Some people with autism syndrome tend to be not very well coordinated. We may not have the muscle mass and strength of others. We may not be athletic like other people. Often we are very clumsy. And again, there are some people with Asperger syndrome who have Asperger syndrome who are great athletes. So it's not universal, but there are some, I should say, higher than average percentage of people with Asperger syndrome do have some physical limitations, like lack of coordination. You can put me in that little box. So, but you still can't tell by looking, because not everybody who lacks coordination is autistic. Number 5 is this, that all autistics are natural introverts. What are some of the other words? Let me count the ways. Shy, quiet, withdrawn, introspective, loner. You've probably heard those names all your life, or those labels all your life, if you have Asperger's syndrome. And there are exceptions. There are some people who have Asperger's syndrome, and they are bothered by external stimuli. Most of us, what we do is we withdraw, but there are some who do just the opposite. They actually lean into it. Okay, let's say charge into it. And they become, maybe hyperactive. So just because someone is quiet and shy doesn't mean they have Asperger's syndrome. Nor does it necessarily mean somebody with Asperger's syndrome must be quiet and shy, because there are some of us, not very many as far as I understand, who are just the exact opposite. They deal with those stimuli as being extroverted. So, that's just the way that we deal with things. See those 2 rectangles on the screen? Let's keep talking. If you want to go on with our conversation, all you got to do is click on one of those 2 rectangles, and the conversation will continue. If not, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you all next time.